boldly, I will rather be flat as broke than work for someone, and I will find another way. Yeah. That's how hard I was on not working a 8 to 5 or 9 to 5. Not a chance. And I haven't done it since I turned 20.
Werner Kruger, or Wern, from South Africa is a man with many interests. I call him one of my mentors, but also a very good friend. To name a few of his projects, he's into Forex and crypto trading, an investor into NFTs, the Metaverse, and many, many other industries. Back home, he started hustling very early from the age of 13, trading things such as collectibles, and he even also broke a few world records in the drag racing industry. What I admire a lot in him is his self-awareness of his physical and mental status. He's always in search of optimizing his routines and systems to get the most work done to reach his goals. All right. Thank you, Werner, for coming on the 4th episode of In Full Effect. It's been a while in the making with you as well. It's not easy to lock you in, as you're a very busy man with a vision. And I don't want to get in between all your hustle, so I appreciate your time. And yeah, I'm sure we have a lot to talk about and a good catch-up probably this call. But thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you for inviting me. I'm glad I can be here.
Yeah, indeed. I'm actually super excited for this episode. There's always so many things I want to ask you. And I like... As I mentioned before, you're one of my mentors, especially in trading, but also in life, basically, because it's your mental, like how you position yourself mentally and how you approach things is very inspirational for me. So it's always fun and good to follow you. And whenever we have a talk, I remember when we first met over 2 years ago back in Saigon, we just started talking and then we were like, damn, we have to record these conversations because
I remember that.
Yeah, we were vibing on a good level, and we had a lot of similarities back in the day as well of our history. So yeah, cool. Let's get into it.
It's quite cool how we connected just on Facebook. Like, hey man, where you from? It's like, I live here, and that's it. You know, we just like clicked from the get-go. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we lived not far from each other, and then we just met for coffee, and the rest is history.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know you have a very extensive history with a lot of experiences, but tell us a little bit who you are, what you do, what are your focuses right now?
All right. So I think firstly, just call me Wern. You know, that's sort of when I started traveling, I just figured that it's easier. You know, my close friends call me Wern. My friends used to call me Wern. So yeah, I turned 33 this year. So yeah, and it's actually been a interesting observation. You know, like I never thought not that it's an age thing, but there's something that's come along with that. You know, and that's sort of caused me to really relook at a lot of things, you know. So I've sort of toned down a little bit, taken a bit of a back step from a public point of view. You know, I've just been working in the background for the past 2 or 3 months, give or take. I've been in many different industries. Started when I was 13 years old, started hustling. I didn't really have much of a choice. And the interesting thing is, my parents were never like that. I don't know where I learned it from, where it came from. When I turned 16, I discovered that I've got 2 sisters. The 2 of them also don't really have the entrepreneurial drive or spirit or anything. So it's one of those things, I guess, you know. But my 20s have been interesting. My 20s, I did so many different things. You know, I was a loose cannon, made a lot of mistakes. I think we always make mistakes anyway, you know. I went from motorsport to electronics. I did a bit of gemstones as well. And as you had mentioned, some collectibles. I got into coins, rare coins. My surname is Kruger, so I got into the Kruger rands. I don't know if you know what those are. If you
No.
don't, go and check them out. Just type in Kruger Rand on DuckDuckGo. Don't use Google. Move away from Google. Sorry, Google, but you guys are dead in my eyes. So yeah, that's a bit about me. I enjoy exercising, not all the time, but I push myself to do it. I enjoy reading, so not novels and things like that, but for the most part, books that can help me to develop and to become a better human. Because if I become a better person, then that will automatically affect people around me. So I'm hard on that. I spend quite a bit of time trading currencies, cryptocurrencies, as you mentioned as well. And obviously things are going crazy right now with NFTs, the Metaverse, and all of that. So I'm on the bandwagon, if you wish. I think there's a lot of opinions out there. For me, the way that I simplify the trend right now with NFTs and the Metaverse, I'm going to say this now because we probably would have ended up there on this call anyway at some point in time. But for me, the way that I look at it is, if you've got massive corporations and massive companies investing millions of dollars, billions of dollars, right? Why should we not go there? You know? And the reason I'm bringing this up is because people are they're skeptical. So they don't want to do things, and they find all these justifications as to why things won't work, right? But the way that I look at it, and it's very straightforward, it's like, okay, let's say Microsoft, as an example, gets into the Metaverse. Why should I care what my uncle has to comment about the Metaverse? If you know what I'm saying. Why should I worry about what anyone else says? Because that person has absolutely nothing to do with it. So who are you listening to? You know, and who you listen to is so important. And with an overload of information, I don't blame people for being confused. So the best way to filter the noise from all of the crap out there is to just look, what are the big players doing? Either you got in before the big players, but at that point you have probably already been in. They just haven't made it public just yet. So very interesting, very, very interesting space.
Yeah, definitely. I have yet to dabble into it as I've been focusing on other things, but definitely have my ears open for it. But then, so right now you're in Vietnam, right? You're not in Saigon with me, but you're up in the central in Da Nang with your new wife. Congratulations.
Indeed. Thank you very much. It's been just over a month.
Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah. Thank you.
You guys actually got engaged the day before we did.
We did, yeah, Christmas Eve.
Because I was actually planning
the same time, right?
No, you did Christmas Eve, I think. And I was planning on Christmas Eve as well. But then I knew you were going to do Christmas Eve because, Jess, she provided the ring for you.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I can't do Christmas Eve. I don't want to take away what he had. And then I was like, I'll do the next day on Christmas. So yeah, that's very exciting. Cool.
Yeah, and cool,
so day to day, what do you do now in Vietnam then?
So I've actually just gotten back from a long trip, just over a month. Obviously Chinese New Year, Tet, that's done, out the way, got married. I'm working behind the scenes on a project. So obviously, as you know, I own a consulting company in the education space, specifically trading education. So my right-hand man basically has the front lines right now. He's handling everything, taking care of all of our mentees and students, making sure that is all going good and well. And I'm refining, and we're building. We're building something very impactful, something really solid for people that are really committed and that are just ready to change the game for themselves, you know. So that's what I'm doing, and obviously trading away, keeping an eye on the market, looking for new projects.
Cool, cool. Very interesting. Yeah. Well, I'm one of those mentees, so I now know what's going on there, and I'm super excited because I've been in since almost a year ago, and just already to see that growth going. Or when we first met, I know you had this idea to build this platform, and then it took a year to get there, and then we finally where we are right now, and there's definitely more to come. That's super exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's amazing. You've been part of the journey pretty much from the beginning, you know. Almost.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about it a lot. Well, almost. I'm still very young into it, I'm sure. Now, one of the bigger questions for you is, what are your goals and aspirations in life? And this is on any level for you.
I think goals, I think they change, obviously, you know, as you change careers, your goals change. As you reach new physical conditions or whatever it may be, your goals change. You know, your goals change based on where you live. Your goals change based on your partner, you know, based on perhaps not based on your partner's goals, but sometimes you've got goals as a couple as well, you know. So I think it's like throwing a big net out there, you know. So it's really hard to get into all of it. I don't think we've got time to get into all of it. I think if we look at let's break it down, and let's say, for example, spirituality. I don't really want to set a goal on it, but more to bring it into the light of creating habits. You know, so to do simple things such as meditation to connect with your higher self. Now, people get a bit hectic with that sometimes, each to their own. Your higher self, you can call it the universe, God, whatever it may be, you know. But also spirituality in a sense of just being connected to your center and to your core. So when things happen, that you just remain true to your values, right? So I don't know if that's a goal thing, as I mentioned. You know, it's more of just a way of being, a way of living, right? Career goals, obviously, there's certain things with that. You know, I want to keep leveling up. In my case, I want to continue building on the amount of capital that I've got available to trade. More capital obviously means that yes, you do stand to lose more, but you also stand to gain more. So as you know, part of being in the program, and you see all of that, risk to reward. Everything we do in life is risk to reward, which is interesting to actually look at it from that point of view. You know, what other sort of goals? Physical goals. I can definitely train more, train harder, train smarter. It's been up and down. It's been a really tough time going through like a shitty lockdown that we had for 3 or 4 months. That really set me back. And I still haven't really fully recovered physically from that. Actually, I'm sitting with a shoulder injury, which is really getting to me. So I've got to get that attended to, which is a goal, actually, attend to my shoulder injury. Yeah, it's a short to medium term, like get this done kind of thing. You know, other goals that I've got are I want to get to a certain number that I've got in my bank account. So bank balance, straight up. I'm a trader. I trade, want to make money. The purpose of trading is obviously to generate income and a whole bunch of additional things, which we won't get into now. But yeah, not too complex. You know, I've really just like narrowed into a couple of things, and that's sort of my focus point. You know, like I've got a few things that I want to tick off every single day, and as that evolves and becomes more and better, then I start adding more on. And as I start doing more of that, then I add more on, take certain things away, or whatever it may be. There's other things like, you know, wanting to travel and see certain places, or I don't know, some people will be like, I want to see 10 countries in the next 5 years. Those are goals for certain people, as an example. You know, that's why I said there's so many, you know, I'm just really trying to be a lot more simple than what I used to be before. Like a simple, I wear the same shit every day, not the exact same shirt, but I wear black for the most part. So when you open my cupboard, I've got black shirts and I've got white shirts and I've got blue shirts, t-shirts. That's it.
Yeah, I'm a little bit opposite in that. I started a idea of getting a lot of Hawaiian shirts, and
I have noticed.
And the reason behind that is actually, and I met a guy who used to work in Wall Street, and then I met him here in Saigon, and who started his own consulting business. And he said, like, I was always in suits on Wall Street, but I wanted to become my own boss so I can wear whatever I want whenever I want. Right? So yeah. I took it up from him as well. I love travel. I love the beach. I love being flamboyant and bright. So I made one of my goals that one day, every day of the year, I can wear whatever I want.
Cool.
And I think for you, that's already the case, because you definitely do everything from home and for yourself and things like that, right?
Yeah, indeed. So it's interesting that you said like that. So that is one of your goals, and that sort of reminded me that I've achieved a lot of things that I wanted to, over the past couple of years. And one of those things a long time ago was that I won't work for anyone else. It won't happen. It just won't happen.
Exact same goal, yeah.
Not happening. I don't care. Like, make me an offer. It's probably not going to happen. Like, that's just, I'm not going there. I will now, you can, I don't know, take this, put it somewhere boldly. I will rather be flat as broke than work for someone, and I will find another way.
Yeah.
That's how hard I was on not working a 8 to 5 or 9 to 5. Not a chance. And I haven't done it since I turned 20. I worked for someone for just over a year. I'm not going to go down that road because you know a bit about that, but the conversation will get too long. But yeah, one of the goals was to wake up whatever time I want to wake up. So that can be a bit hectic if you're not really disciplined. So you've got a set routine for yourself and make sure you do that. But still, if I want to sleep in, I can do that if I really want to do that. Eat when I want. I talk to whoever I want, whenever I want, go to the gym, whatever time I want. I just do whatever I want. And that for me was something that I set, and I just keep doing that. So that is a repetitive goal, if that makes sense. Like I said, it's a way of living.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. Cool.
You should be here though with that Hawaiian shirt of yours.
Oh, you should be here because the weather is even better over this side.
We should swap around.
No, well, we're going to Fukuoka soon, so you guys should be there too.
Amazing.
To the beaches.
Oh man.
So you have your goals, and what I want to know from you, and I'm gonna find this very interesting because I know you a little bit, and I've seen you evolve in your life in the last 2 years, at least, because you've been through a lot in the last 2 years, mentally, physically. What do you think is your full potential? And have you always thought that was going to be your full potential? Or do you know there's so much more that you can do or want to do within yourself?
I'm gonna drop a book title. Maybe you can read it yourself. Maybe some listeners will read it. A book called Limitless. Fascinating, isn't it? By Jim Quick. Really cool guy. Really, really cool guy. And that talks about achieving your full potential. I haven't finished the book, but I found it pretty cool. So outside of that, I don't think we ever reach our full potential. I don't think we can. Because whenever you arrive at a certain point, you realize like, shit, there's more, and it's just an abundance. It's not a greed thing. I'm not talking about like reaching your full potential in terms of refining so many things or making this amount of money. That's not what I'm talking about, So I don't think we ever reach our full potential. what I do believe, though, is that we continue to raise our standards. And if we continue to raise our standards, it just means that we are living in accordance to that, if that makes sense. That's my belief. Might be wrong. I don't know. But I also think that reaching full potential is also a way of living, because how do you define that? I think full potential needs to be defined, and it goes back to removing limiting belief systems. And if you can get rid of stories of yourself, your past, you can let go of things such as judgment, anger, hate, and all of those negative things, expectation, and detach from that which other people expect of you, and perhaps the ideas that you have formed in your mind around what you expect of yourself because of how it may fulfill other people. I think that's when life changes for you, but it doesn't stop there. It keeps going. It keeps going. So yeah, like I said, I think in short, we never truly reach our full potential, and I think that's the purpose of it. I don't know. I think I think the full potential thing may have been distorted in today's day and age. Like all these people coming out and shouting and being highly motivated. Life, it doesn't work like that. You don't get up and you just pumped every single day. Like maybe some people do, but like how real is that then? And how does that align with you and your personality and what matters to you,
Yeah, so, nothing is from 0 to 100 in the end. It's all step by step.
Absolutely. It's like lighting a match and thinking you can put a tree on top of it and it's going to take fire and just go. Like, no, it's all about like getting the fire to burn bigger gradually,
And consistency.
Yeah, 100%. Consistency is one thing that I still struggle with it, man. Like there's a lot of things that, and the interesting thing is we can never really blame circumstance. We can never like point fingers to other people. We can never play the victim game. And wherever we do play the victim game, then we need to be able to identify that. And to say like, okay, you know what? Like this is what I'm actually doing right now. This is like I'm trying to find reason to be upset at other people for whatever reason it may be, whatever the reason may be. And when you've got all this noise banging in your head, it's holding you back. You've got all the shit that you're thinking about someone that did something to you. I'm not saying avoid it. Don't get me wrong. I'm definitely one that does not preach avoidance. Like I'm the total opposite. For me, like I face most of my fears. It's probably more, but I believe that running straight at them, looking at dead in the eye, and just dealing with it. And most people don't want to because they say like, but now it's not a good time. Now it's not the right time to do this. But like I've got to focus on like my family right now. I've got to focus on work. What people don't get and understand is that avoidance will make everything worse. So if you've got shit to deal with, to really deal with it. And you shouldn't judge yourself if you are dealing with things that are unpleasant or that's maybe happened to you or that you did in the past or whatever it may be. It's always a past that comes back. So a lot of people say, yeah, the past dictates the future, right? But it doesn't. Because that's just a belief, right? If you heal the past and you move and you get it done and you can put it behind you, you can recreate and reshape who you are and change your future self.
Yeah. Yeah, very interesting.
That I think if you continue to do that, you'll get closer and closer and closer to your full potential.
Interesting. So you mentioned already that, for example, consistency is one of your weak points in achieving your full potential or even in achieving your goals. Are there any other obstacles in your life that causes maybe to slow down to reach what you're going for?
Noise. It's noise in the sense of things that I see, and I think we all have this. I don't know if anyone, at least not from like mentors that I've had and people that I've spoken to, they never fully or entirely get rid of certain voices, you know. So right now, as an example, what we're doing and working on, it might not work. And I look at it and I'm like, there's the doubt that's creeping in, you know. So just identify and said like, okay, here's some noise, you know, something is coming from somewhere that is trying to distort things for me and take me off of the path that I'm walking on. So it's just like grabbing it in that moment and just putting it aside. You know, it's catching the fear and saying, well, I see that, but I'm not letting that contaminate me.
So how do you end that? Like I heard this before with the previous speaker, Anand Patel. He said as well, and he said he has another voice in himself that identifies that, hey, hold on, don't listen to that. But the way he said it is, it's easy to identify, but how can you identify the truth in the noise? That's what because I totally agree with noise. There's a lot of noise. There's always a different opinion. There's always somebody that is not supporting, but how do you keep yourself straight on the path?
That's a very good question. And for me, it's been a long journey. So I basically started doing certain work and practices with certain mentors around 12 years ago. So it's not one thing, it's a journey. You're starting at one point and you start to peel off certain layers, you know. Things that play a role though in decision making and your ability to cope and to maintain your cool and to have clarity is sleep. Go to sleep, rest well, all right? And people think, yeah, but it can't be and this and that. Try and sleep well, right? Try it. Be consistent for a month and then try and sleep like shit for a month and compare your performance. Compare your ability to perceive things, compare your communication with people, just compare your overall mood, all right? It's not that it's just that simple, but I'm just saying that is one thing, is adequate rest, all right? And then you can do other practices such as meditation, you can do journaling. Those kind of things are just practices that help to keep you more grounded, all right? I think for the most part, when you are dealing with things such as fear, and we're interesting as people because it comes from all different places, all different things that we do. I think actually the book that I told you about, Limitless, I think Jim Quick wrote about a part of the brain, which points out why certain people get stuck on fear. I think it was that book. I can't recall exactly. But let's say, for example, if you are working on something big and you're scared that it's not going to work out, you know, I think if you strengthen your character and you let go again of things in the past and certain limiting beliefs, then you can power through that. And you remind yourself that you are just worthy of everything that you want and that you can attract everything that you want to you. And you've got to ask, where is that coming from? You know, and really sit with it and really try and identify, you know, but like, what is the worst that could happen? And instead of dwelling on what is the worst that could happen, think about what is the best that could happen. What is the best case? And instead of worrying about all the shit that's happened in the past, I say all the shit that's happened in the past, but all the things or whatever, like, I don't want to be or offend anyone, you know, it's just my way of talking, right? But if you let go of those things from the past and you look at where you are now and you see this vision of yourself in the future, you can then ask yourself, but is the future me going to be worried about all of this noise and all the shit that's going on right now? So you see yourself in that future position, having already achieved the things that you want or that you're creating or moving towards. And then you ask yourself, but are you going to be thinking about this right now when it's already done? So you're pulling yourself ahead.
Yeah. Put yourself into the future when you know that whatever happened in the past is actually indeed the noise that is just trying to stop you. But when you achieve it, that noise is irrelevant to your goals.
The past dictates the future if you allow it to, or you can reshape it. Because at the end of the day, like, how do we perceive? And why do we perceive in that way? Those are the two questions.
It's becoming a very philosophical, well, never mind. I can't say it.
Philosophical. Philosophical.
Cool.
Yeah. But it's interesting. Like I said, like I always go back to just the way of living, you know? And I think, like, for me, I enjoy being quite reserved. I'm not a very loud and outspoken person, and it takes too much energy for me. You know, like I like doing this call with you is fantastic, and connecting with you. But for the most part, I'm quite introverted and quiet. I like to observe things, talk when I really have to talk, and obviously socialize and all of that. But I like to dig into myself and into the psyche. And the more you understand about yourself, the more you can relate to other people. It's true, because it's not that you have been through the exact same situation, but you may have experienced certain patterns and feelings that your friends or family may experience. And if you've gone through that and you found a way to work through it, you can help them do the same. So it's not the event that may be the same. It's the patterns or the loops that may be the same.
Yeah. So
for me, it's cool getting into that.
What helped you getting to know yourself? Because it's not easy to identify certain things within yourself or know who you are if you're lost in a sea of noise, lost in fear and things like that. How do you know who you are, and how do you know that you're not just following what is expected from you? Because you're a self-taught man, right? I don't think you've been to school to learn all of this. I would say this is all experience you've been through. So why also did you decide to go on your own path and do it yourself? So actually 2 questions, yeah.
So yeah, I didn't, I just went to normal school for 12 years, wasted 12 years. If I could go back in time, I'd probably leave at like the age of 15 or something. I don't know. Ever since I could remember being a kid, I was curious about how the world works. And I just had this feeling that something, we all want to feel different. We all want to be different. Let's face the truth, right? We all want to, and it's true. We are unique, and we all have this feeling of like, I'm special, and it's true. We are, you know? So I had that, and not to be cliche and say like it was like a calling, because I don't think it was that entirely. I still don't actually know. But I think through my years of hustling as a kid and like getting older, I watched The Secret. That's cliche, right? You ever watch The Secret?
I haven't.
Watch The Secret, right? But at that point in time, I didn't know much. I was 19 years old, actually almost 19. And which at that time was good. I didn't like know all the stuff. So knowing less at that point in time meant having less noise, right? And it probably meant having a lower EQ and IQ and all of that as well. But it was just interesting, and I started to apply these things taught by Bob Proctor and Dr. John DiMartini. I just didn't know what I was doing, and things were just working. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm like 19 years old and I'm earning more than my mom was earning being a regional bank manager, So working in the bank for 32 years or something like that. It's weird. And I didn't go to college. There wasn't the option to go to college or university. And whenever I had to get into academics, I was bored as fuck. I was like, this is stupid. It's like, this is literally meaning nothing for me right now, So, but what really triggered it was when my mom passed away. So when she passed away, I was like, what the fuck is going on here? It really hit me hard at that time, because one of my dreams and goals and aspirations at that time was to give and to provide for both of my parents. The one passed away. I was like, okay, so I got my pops left. This is cool. Like, I can work with this, keep my cool. Things will be all right. But it wasn't that easy. So I just I turned to a friend one day, and I just said to him, like, bro, I'm really struggling, man. At that point in time, I was 20. I think I was 21 or 22. 21. Yeah, 21. Running a business already, which was pretty successful already at that point in time, which I'm very grateful for, because I had no skills in what I was doing. It was just like wing it and go. And he just said, man, like, you know what? I can see you struggling. And I was like, I need help. Like, someone's got to help me with this shit. Like, this is just like, I shouldn't be feeling this way. Shouldn't be like, I don't know what's going on. So I found a mentor. And she's just really helped me, man, in so many ways. She's helped me help myself. I will give all the credit to her. She will never take any of it, because the feedback is always, you did all the work. And that is something that I think a lot of people overlook in this modern age of mentorship. Is the mentors want to take all the credit, but they cannot. They've done the work, and they are just helping people to help themselves.
They can point out certain things, but all the work is done by yourself.
They help people get to their own answers by asking the right questions. And me, I'm famous within our group of people to always say that learn to ask the right questions. Talk less, ask more. You will learn a lot more by improving the quality of your questions.
That's a good one. Yeah, it's definitely something I struggle with.
People are too quick to talk. People cannot, because everyone wants to be heard. Everyone feels like they're not being heard. So that's another thing to become content with. Like, you don't always have to be heard. And that was a big one for me, wanting to be heard. And it just kind of goes back to my upbringing. I was adopted at birth, knew my whole entire life. But unfortunately, I discovered I opened Pandora's box, basically. And that was a really hard one to go through on very, very deep levels of depth that you cannot get to on your own. You require you've got to work with the right people in the right setting and create context with what you working with in the now, and then you've got to recreate that context. So it's quite complicated. But yeah, that was a big one for me. And that is why part of why I love being in motorsport. It was such a big ego thing. It was like, cool, man. Like, I'm being seen, like I'm hitting it. I'm getting first place. I'm pushing. It's a big ego thing, to be seen, to be heard,
Yeah.
But being seen, being heard, what value does it add to people? How does it help them? It doesn't.
Yeah. What I want to ask you is, and I only actually recently recently, and mainly since the journey in Vietnam and while I was traveling and working for myself, I learned to understand that having a mentor is actually very helpful and important. And I never identified having a mentor, maybe. But I feel like I was always a kid on the loose, running around, doing whatever. But from the moment I found someone, and you're one of them actually, that helps you and point things out, things are a lot clearer, of course, because that person has more experience. What I want to ask you is, for people that don't have a mentor or don't have an idea of what they're doing or how to find focus, how can they find a mentor in what they do or in life?
Yeah, very good question. Very, very, very good question. How did you find a mentor?
Well, I stumbled upon you.
Okay, so that's one answer, because sometimes that just happens, right? But there's a saying that the teacher teaches when the student pitches. Right?
Okay.
So it just means that you've got to be ready for it. That's one side, right? Actually, this carries on into the next part. So it's not just that it's one side of it. Just read. Read has become cliche. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with the world right now, because so many people are like, but that's. It's like, you know what? You want to learn something? You don't have money to pay someone directly. You don't have a couple of grand to invest into someone that can help you achieve the things that you want to achieve. Buy books and read them. Go on Amazon and go and buy a book. Identify what it is that you want to achieve, and go down the rabbit hole. Just go do it. Because what's better, sitting and watching TV, or I don't know, talking shit to friends or whatever? Like, that's what most people do. I don't do that. My circle of friends don't do that. Just read. Really. It's not that difficult. There's fantastic books out there. I think good books to go and read would be on the topic of self-improvement. But as I mentioned, Limitless is a really good one. You can read books on habits. So a book by James Clear called Atomic Habits.
Yeah,
also a very, very good one. Yeah. Another book on self-improvement. This is actually one of the guys that I admire him. His name is Dave Asprey. He's written multiple books, but there's a very, very good one called Game Changers. All right. And another one called Superhuman. Really good books, because he covers most topics that we experience living our daily lives. Some of it might be a little bit high level, but you've got to start somewhere, you know. And it's cheap. I think they're like $15 or $20, somewhere like that. So make that investment. Take $100 and go and buy 4 or 5 books and just read them. You know, that is what I would honestly suggest. I mean, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. A friend of mine gave it to me when I was 19. So I got it a bit late, unfortunately, but that's okay. Because I read that book and I was like, this is opening my eyes. And I looked around and I was like, the fuck's wrong with the world? You know?
I had the same when I read it for the first time.
Yeah. I look around and I'm like, what is going on? Why is that, like, everywhere I go, there's only like 5 or 6% of the community or that city or town that is really wealthy, or that is doing well, and they talk different and they think different, they respond different. Changed my whole view on everything.
Yeah. I had that as a kid in high school, and
you read it when you were in high school?
No, but I'm thinking back on different. I read it. When did I read it? Maybe like not too long ago, like 3 years ago by now. So I was 23. Right. Yeah. But thinking about it now, I had similar thoughts when I was in high school, in the sense that like everybody of my friends in my class, for example, was thinking, oh, I need to do this and I need to do A, B, C, D. So by 65, I can go on my pension and the rat race.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, why am I the only one not thinking like that? Why do I don't want to go study, go work, and fall into a daily routine that is not decided by myself? I wanted to travel the world and experience. I always said experiencing is the most valuable teacher. So that's why I put myself into situations that you have to learn or that you will learn something, because like if you keep doing the same thing, you're not going to learn something different. So I just put myself in a different country and see what happened, right? So that's why experience is one of my biggest teachers, for example. I want to ask you, as you mentioned, as we talked about a bit earlier, the noise is there, people's opinions are there, but how do you compare yourself with others? Do you compare yourself with others, and in what way?
Yes, the comparison with others, also noise, which is still there. The way that I remind myself to stay in my own lane is to just look at what it is that I'm working towards, and to also remember that we all have our own unique journeys. We've all grown up in different ways. We all had our different experiences. We all make different choices. I'm doing me. I'm doing the best that I can do, and I constantly also remind myself that just because it looks as if other people are doing great doesn't necessarily mean that they are doing that great, because of what I've gone through and what I've seen other people go through. And you look at it and you're like, you know what, we never really know what is going on like in people's lives. So why should we compare? And we're living in a day and age where everyone just wants to show the best and no one wants to talk about the worst, So for the most part, when I look at people, I wonder how they get to certain levels of consistency and how they manage to filter through certain things. But then when I talk to them, they're like, oh, no, they don't. So that's a reminder.
Like,
So it's hard. It doesn't mean if it looks easy that it is that easy, that's pretty much one of the biggest ones. And I think that the only one. Sometimes I look at people at gym and I'll be like, fuck, this guy's strong, man. And I'll be like, do I actually want to be that strong? And I'm like, probably. It's like, am I going to get that strong? What does it take to get there?
Exactly.
And then it's like, well, do I want to do that? Because if I do that, I'm probably going to get there. I'm probably going to do better.
So do you want to put in the work to achieve? Do you value that goal as much to do the work for it, right?
100%. So whenever you're looking at other people and you want to compare, you've got to ask the question, like, is that what you want to do? Are you willing to do the same to get the same or to get better? And then you've got to bring it back to like, well, what is it that, like, what are you working towards? And what do you want out of your life? What career you're in? Or you're asking all these questions. And for the most part, you'll be reminded like, nah, you don't actually want to do that. It'll be cool to have that, but then you're going to have to do that. You know? So that's always the thing when it comes to comparison.
Like everybody wants 10 million bucks in the bank, want to be strong and fit, but nobody realizes how much work it actually takes. And then they talk 100%. Shit about people who give up a lot of things to focus on those goals. And then they also judge those people because they neglect other things that they don't find important, but others do. And then, that's the noise, I guess.
Absolutely.
Cool. I hope that's clear. Right now in your life, I know a lot what you have been doing is actually a journey, and you've been through a lot of phases and you've been through a lot of stages, but and right now I know you're building towards the next point in your life. Are you happy where you are right now or the way you do things? Or is it really for you that you want that next thing, or are you happy with the journey, the story that you're writing?
That's a very good question. I actually, the way that you asked that question, am I happy with the story that I'm writing? That's what you said, right? No. I still have to get to a point to be able to say yes, just because of my experience through the pandemic. I could have done better through that. I could have made different choices. I didn't, so definitely there's some of that's still like hanging a little bit. So that's to answer part one, which is actually interesting because it's just reflecting on the pandemic. Yeah. What was the first part of the question, or the first question?
Yeah, it was one question, just like, are you happy where you are right now?
I'm happy where I am right now. Yes, I've kind of divided that into two. Not entirely, no.
And are you doing anything about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So the interesting thing is, like, what is happiness? Is it like, do we feel happy all the time, or do we feel content? See, there's a difference between the two. Do you want to feel happy all the time, or you want to feel content all the time? And also, all the time is quite intense, because we're humans. Like, how can we? We've got emotions, right? We're meant to feel. And it's like, sometimes we get pissed off, sometimes we get upset over certain things. If you want to be content all the time, go be a monk. Go live in the mountains and be absolutely triggered by nothing. That's why monks are like, they do that, and we get to learn from them, but we live in a different world. I'm happy, but I do also have times where I'm not so happy. Certain results I'm not that happy about, so I make changes in order to improve or change the results. So it's a constant thing of push and pull. And I like that. If we don't have that, it's like a heartbeat, right? Go to the gym, you do high intensity training, you're going to hit 180, 190 beats per minute. You just lift some weights, you're going to hit 140, 150. You sleep 60, as an example. So it's just up and down, push, pull.
Yeah.
From writing and journaling, you can go, like, you're able to identify patterns with certain things, and you're able to rate your mood if you track that, depending on what journaling methods you use or you've created for yourself, if you do any of that, or anyone watching or listening. But that on its own is also a task, and it takes dedication to do that.
That's a good thing to talk about. I don't do it myself, honestly, but journaling and writing down whatever you think or go through. How long have you been doing that, and how has it changed things for you?
9 years. I've been journaling for 9 years. It's interesting to see how I used to journal compared to how I do now. Now is very different. Now is like hyper analytical. Like, sometimes I read it and I'm like I've really broken down my thought process. I've gotten into the emotions. I've gotten into where at that point in time I think it was coming from, what triggered it, how I can improve on that. So it's a very advanced way of journaling. I don't know how a lot of other people do their journaling. It's a very unique thing. The more you do it, the better you become at it, the better you are able to analyze your thoughts and, expand your awareness about yourself. If you expand your self-awareness, as I mentioned earlier, you're able to look at other people from a different point of view as well, become more compassionate, understand people better. But yeah, I think with if you combine meditation with journaling, That's quite powerful. Sometimes I get into a semi-meditative state just when I sit and write, because it's just like a flow, Same like when you stand in the shower and someone's just like start zoning,
Yeah.
So I would say, like, if you want to get into that, so what you can do is you can download this app called Medito. So if you haven't meditated before or whatever it may be, or you require like guided, you can download Medito. Pretty cool. Do 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day. Really easy to do. Really easy. Really, like 5 to 10 minutes a day. New habit you form. You do that, and then after that you go and you do your journaling. That helps. That combination together, because your brain waves go slow. It goes lower. So you go from alert, buzzing all over the place to more like semi-sleepy, more open, creative. Yeah.
Cool. One of the things I admired a lot about you is time management, because that's definitely one thing I'm very bad at, very bad. And it comes down to prioritizing as well, I'm sure, and planning. But how do you go about time management, or what are any can you give any tips about doing that, how to get started even?
Yeah, time management is a tricky one, especially actually for everyone, but especially if you're an entrepreneur and you have your, I don't want to say time freedom, because most entrepreneurs don't have time freedom. Most entrepreneurs are small business owners. So they not actually entrepreneurs, they are small business owners, right? Time management comes down to forming habits. Simple way to do that is use an application. And this is what I've done, what works for me, what I would suggest you can do, and what other people can do. Download an application. You can use something like Todoist. You can use Trello or whatever it may be, right? Write down a schedule for yourself and do it when you're in a state of high alertness and focus. Don't do it at night because you're going to be tired and lazy. Do it at like 10 o'clock in the morning or 2 in the afternoon or something, when you just have clarity, all right? Because what that does is you're using your logical thinking, and then the next day when you may be feeling different, you look at that and you're like, but that was me yesterday writing something for me today, for me, not for someone else. It wasn't written by someone else, all right? And this is what I defined is going to be the best for me to do. So whether or not I feel like shit or whether I feel fantastic, I'm doing what I've defined for myself, what I've got to do, right? And you just do that. You set an alarm on your phone for those times, and you put it down, your alarm goes off. Okay, cool. Now you go and you do your next thing, all right? Go and you do your next thing. Now, time management is a very wide topic, because what is, like, define that. Does it mean like you're sitting and you're browsing, looking at shit? So you're procrastinating? So if you're procrastinating, does it just mean, it just means that you haven't identified your priorities? So the highest on your list of priorities right now is seeking pleasure, avoiding pain. So if you're browsing YouTube, you're delaying doing certain things. It's a form of procrastination, right? So one trick that I use, and it's not easy. None of this shit is easy. It's not meant to be easy. Otherwise, everyone would do it. Everyone would be great. Everyone will have amazing results, right? Everyone will be peak performance. If I'm sitting down, and this happens every single day, I get it throughout the day. Like sometimes when I'm trying to get into a flow state, then I'll find things to go and do. When I'm sitting down, I'm like, I can pour some water, or maybe I can put on some music, or I want to check your email. I don't do any of that shit. Like I pour my bottle of water, put my bottle of water down. My phone goes away from me. It's on focus mode. I've got no alerts. My laptop goes on focus mode as well. So I don't get any application alerts. I don't get any emails, none of that. So it's just like, if I feel that I want to go and do something else, I'll go the other way. Because the other way, instead of going to pleasure, going to pain, and the pain is doing the hard thing that I've got to do. And for the most part, the things that we do throughout our days, we're working, and working is not always pleasure. Sometimes it's fucking boring. Sometimes you just sit there, like trading, right? You remember when you started trading, you were excited. Now I'm sure you've started to realize and to notice, like, this is cool, but this is actually quite boring. I'm just sitting and I'm looking at charts, and it's like I'm putting all these things together, and okay, cool, I'm doing this thing because I'm refining my skill and I'm getting paid for it. So I hope that like elaborates a little bit, to sort of like narrow in on how to structure a day according to what you do. And also just procrastination, because for the most part, time management and procrastination goes hand in hand.
Yeah,
so
I totally get the procrastination part. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Instead of going and eating the ice cream in the fridge, or the banana, or whatever it may be, or checking if the dogs have water if you're working from home, or opening a tab to go check something, like, just go the other way. Because probably going the other way is going to get you back on track. And once you're in that flow state, then it just happens. Then you're just there, and you just keep going, you keep going, you keep going, you keep going.
So you basically create the best circumstances you can to do the right things for you, and like eliminate distractions.
Yeah.
And also, I think what is very important is identify what is important to you. Like, is it either short-term pleasure or short-term pain that eventually turns into long-term results, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely spot on. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I totally get what
you've got to be focused.
Yeah.
You have to be focused.
Yeah, I totally get the procrastination. Like, one of the things was this podcast, for example. We recorded the first episode over 2 years ago. And even that one I did edit, but never published, because I was like, this is going to be the only episode, because I haven't even recorded anything else, or I have no idea what I want to do. Then it took me 2 years to even move forward with that. And one of the reasons was I wanted to be perfect. And I learned that, or the reason I finally pulled the trigger is I'm not going to let perfect and undone be the bad of good but done, right? I've talked to this about with Millie as well, our first speaker. And I always said this, it's better to have 3 good than 1 perfect. And then just keep doing it. And then it goes back to consistency. And I realize that's very important as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, the consistency is a big thing, man. You've got to train yourself to become consistent, and I think the more things you get in line, and the more you practice on doing these things religiously and forming habits, the more consistent you'll become. I'm going to get to the topic of like chasing perfection in just a minute, but the interesting thing is that how you do one thing is how you do everything. If you create consistency in one part, you want that spread into other areas of your life, and it's important to observe that, because sometimes it's not that easy, but how you can identify when you're not consistent is, for example, if you look at your bedroom as an example, right, or your kitchen or your house, if it's a mess, look at your desktop on your laptop or your computer. It's probably going to be a mess. Go look at your inbox. It's probably going to be a mess. Let's look at your eating habits. It's probably going to be a mess. So you're going to see that pattern repeat in other areas of your life, right? Your energy may be low, but the flip to that is, if your house is clean and probably your computer is going to be organized, email may be organized, other things will be organized. Not exactly that, but you get what I'm saying. So you're going to pick up the common pattern present in other places, other areas. Then it's important to notice when you start moving away from the dip and then more towards the top. And then you want to see when you start tapering down so that you don't go down, so that you keep it up. And that's where you want to raise your standards and your way of living, right? It's easier said than done, but you've got to just do it. And no one's going to do it for you, right? The other thing is that you were saying about like chasing perfection is just a form of procrastination and just like waiting. But then you've got these things like your fear of judgment and what will people think. And at the end of the day, people are going to think whatever the fuck they're going to think. It's always going to happen. Since you were born, people have thought things about you, right? And at some point in time, we've got to just say, like, you know what? I couldn't be bothered. I don't care anymore. This podcast is epic, right? People can think what they want of it, but they're learning from this. They're going to be able to take things away, so they will be back again, right?
Yeah, not only that, not only others. I decided to do this as a journey for myself. And
you've been burning to do this, man. I'm so glad it's on the go. It's so epic.
Yeah, I'm actually very excited because so far, and thank you to all the listeners, a lot of good feedback already. I know a few people who've been through amazing stories, who had crazy experiences in their life, who reached certain levels, downs, and like they've been to the lowest low, they've been to the highest highs. And I know, as I mentioned before, experiences is one of the most important things for me, especially putting yourself in these situations as well. And they've been through it and they share with us and they tell us what they did reacting to something happened to them. As you know, 80%, 20% is what happens to you, or even less, 10% is what happens to you, but 90% is how you react to it, right? Mm-hmm. One person can react to like a fallback a lot different than someone else. And yeah, I think that's very important to hear all these stories as well, to so people understand that, listen, it can be different. And some people been through it, so maybe you can as well. So I really appreciate that you're here. I want to ask you a few more things in the sense, because we're trying to help people, trying to help myself as well. I wanted to ask you, what are like tools for you or what people can do to help themselves in life? You mentioned a few Todoist. That's one I use. The meditation app. Or anything else? Books was one of them, of course.
Yeah. Medito, that app is really, really good. Less social media. Use it carefully. So that's actually taking away what people perceive as a tool these days, right?
You need to identify. Yeah, you need to identify what kind of tool.
Yeah, it's a killer. I would say, so instead of adding, let's just talk about the social media topic. What I've done is, some time ago, is I set a time limit on my phone. I don't have Facebook on my phone. It's on my laptop, right? So I've got to open my browser, and then I get onto Facebook. When I get onto Facebook, I've got a plugin installed that does not show me the feed. Now, some people may think like, but what's the point of Facebook then? For me, the point of Facebook is to use it to connect with people such as friends and family. I've got acquaintances on there, but I don't want to see what is going on in everyone's life. So if I want to check, how's Milan doing? I've got to type in your name and I've got to go to your profile to see, okay, cool. So you went and traveled or whatever it may be. So I get no notifications unless someone comments on my stuff or they send me a message, right? So that is my way of using Facebook. So I've refined the system. They don't give you that option. You've got to download an additional plugin for that to work. If I've got it on my phone, I don't have that luxury or that feature, right? So I force myself in a way to just get onto the platform and to go through all the effort to go and check things. Interesting thing is, my life's been better because I don't see people's shit. I don't care, you know. My close friends I communicate with in different ways. So it doesn't actually matter. Instagram though, because we all enjoy Instagram, right? some people more than others, and that's okay. I was hooked on at one stage. But I just set a 30-minute per day timer, which is actually too long. I should bring it down to 15 minutes. But I use it to connect with people and to network as well, right? So there is that aspect to it. But I still set a cap on it because it can move away from Instagram to another channel if something comes of it or whatever it may be. So I hardly spend any time chit-chatting. I don't use this as a hack or whatever it may be, but I don't have time for chit-chat. I think you know that by now. You know, like most of my friends know that.
It's very hard to get in touch with you, indeed.
I just and there's a reason for that, you know. There's a very valid reason for that, because I'm not just available for anyone right now. My wife, she texts me if I see it, or if I've got my phone with me or whatever it may be. I'm available for her if it's urgent or whatever it may be. That's cool. And my 2 business partners, and that's it. That is it. You know, everything else is like when I choose for it to be available. And I don't know, maybe that doesn't work for some people. It's always worked for me. I'm willing to try new things, try different things, but I found that the more I'm able to filter out all of that and allocate certain times to doing certain things, then that's great. Like in the next 30 minutes, it will be 5 p.m. over here. So then I'll open my emails and I will check if any emails have come through. I'll respond. I will go onto Telegram and I will write back to friends if any of them have contacted me or whatever it may be. If there's nothing, then there's nothing, and that's basically it. That's done. You know, spend 30 minutes doing that, and then just carry on working on what is of utmost importance and priority. So the tools here is maybe not apps, but it's more to identify where you want to put your attention and who's got access to you as well. Because we live in an always on culture, right? It's like, well, I'll just send someone a message at like 10 o'clock at night. It's like, don't think before you message someone at 10 o'clock at night, because you are actually most likely invading their private time with their family or with their partner. But because we live in this always on kind of like cultural society, people don't think about that anymore. I remember as a kid, like, if the phone rings at like 8:30 at night, it's like you're not calling someone's home at 8:30 at night, you know? But now it's like, oh, I'll just send a text quickly at like 11:30. That's okay, we're chatting. It's like, no, you're actually being rude. You could very likely be being very rude right now. It's like, it's not urgent. It's probably not even important. So just do it in the morning, you know? Something to think of. It's a different perspective. And if that doesn't happen the next morning, it means it really didn't actually matter. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. It's actually a really good tip, because I'm very bad at that. Before we wrap up the episode, is there a favorite quote you go by, or a favorite philosophy, maybe, like in one catch?
No, I don't think I've got a favorite one. Maybe I like how you do one thing is how you do everything, and also the famous one, or so many famous ones, but one that we probably all know is just the man who chases 2 rabbits catches none.
Those are very, very good. Yeah, that, and then I think that even like summarizes everything we've been talking about for the last hour or so. Yeah, focus indeed. I know you're not so much on social media, but can people follow you anywhere online, or how would they be able to follow your journey?
Probably Instagram would be the best. _ Werner Kruger _
Yeah, I will definitely link that as well for the people who want to see what Wern is up to these days. Yeah. It's a very focused man.
I'm active on there every now. I'm like I said, I spend a bit of time on there. Like if people comment or send me messages, I do my best to write back to them within like, I don't know, a day or 2, sometimes 3. It depends on what I'm working at, you know, working on. So yeah. But I love to connect with people. It's always cool for me to meet new individuals, especially because of what could happen, such as our journey, you know. And here we are doing the podcast. We're friends. We've walked an interesting journey together with one another. So we should always be open to connecting with other people, you know.
100%. Totally agree. Well, Werner, Wern, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It was a joy talking to you again. Very helpful, very educational, actually, and inspirational. I hope I can come over anytime soon, or you come over, or we'll meet somewhere in Vietnam. It was a pleasure having you on.
Yeah, please come and visit. Thank you for inviting me. I haven't done something like this in quite a while, actually. So it's great just talking and being able to share things. When put things out there, and if people can take something from it, which I'm sure many people would be able to, then that's great. Because at the end of the day, whatever we learn, I believe we should pass on to other people. Because what is the point of having a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience, but it goes nowhere? It becomes stuck in your own body and your own system. And I just believe it could become unhealthy as well. So whatever we learn, we have to pass on to other people. And it's not your knowledge, it's not my knowledge. It's just we've received it from somewhere, and it can continue to pour out and spread to other people.
Totally
So
agree.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Well, have a good one, and we'll talk to each other soon.